So what I would do differently is I would totally agree with Laura in terms of the teacher being absolutely the vital link in this. We have a wonderful opportunity, honestly, coming up in terms of the way in which we prepare and support our teachers. We, over the next 8 years, something like 1.5 million teachers are going to be retiring. That gives us a tremendous opportunity to bring a new group of people into the teaching profession, to prepare them well. Teaching is an incredibly complex endeavor, and our teachers need support from the time that they begin their teaching career and their teacher preparation program all the way through.
It's clear that I'm going to echo what the superintendent's saying. There are a cadre of teachers out there that want to change things and are willing to reform. When the teachers associations are saying no, it's because they're saying no to bad ideas. Rarely are teachers involved in the discussions. Most of the discussions around education are coming from policy groups and people totally outside the education spectrum. Almost everything she said I'd agree with. Teachers are spending too much time in front of students and not enough time working with each other and collaborating. I agree that our school should look completely differently. I'm the union boss. We're doing a lot of things in my district to change the way we teach, the way we deliver instruction, the amount of time students spend with their teachers and the way they spend that time. In 2008, 2009, the state of California spent about $11,600 per student. In my school district, 25% of that money never even got there. So many of you are going to say, well, districts, they waste money, but a quarter of the money doesn't even make it to most school districts because it's going to all these other things that never impact your students. And no one's ever asking those questions. And all the money debates, people never say, where does the money actually go? The state of California and the federal government are spending a tremendous amount of money on education, but how much actually ends up in the classroom?
I would change the schools of education. I disagree. They are not producing teachers that come to us with the skills they need. The new teachers do not know how to use technology effectively in the classroom. They might be able to use it themselves. They can use Facebook, they can use their iPod, their iPhone, and so forth, but they don't know how to integrate it effectively in the classroom.
Okay, so you change teacher education, what else?
Second thing is I'd like to change the way teachers see themselves. Yep. I would like teachers to see themselves more as guides of education as opposed to the sage on the stage.
Is that what you do?
Yes.
That's a set-up question. In case you didn't recognize it.
That's what I do. I do
What
that.
do you do?
So, like for example, I'm suffering from all that loss of money too. So instead of having 20 kids in my freshman English class I'm supposed to, I have 30. Okay, so that's 1/3 more students. And so the question is, do I
No,
want
that's
to...
50% more. So
50% more. I don't teach math. Thank you, John. Anyway, that's a lot more. So, should I cut the number of essays they write? That's really mean of me, right? So no, I don't cut them.
But you also teach journalism. What do you do there?
Well, let me tell you what I do with my English class.
No, I don't want to hear that. I want to let the journalists. You don't have enough time.
All right, I'll tell you just a bit about journalism. So my journalism class, I have an advanced journalism class, a beginning journalism class. Beginning journalism has 37 kids. Advanced journalism, 70. 70 kids in one class. So the question is, how do I get them all to work really well? So I put them in groups. They collaborate with each other. They're responsible for correcting and teaching each other, and it works.
So what I would do is, charter schools are free of 80% of the education code under the mega waiver.
Are charter schools a serious silver BB?
No, they're not at all.
Because there are 100,000
They're not at all.
schools.
There's bad charters. The charters are very uneven. But the ability of charter schools, what we have is agility. And to those superintendents who said it's not fair that you have that agility, I say you're right. You should get the same agility. So I think that the mega waiver should be applied to all schools in the whole state.
This is what you call project-based learning.
It's all, so basically what's happening, they all learn these skills that everybody's trying to teach them through the drill and kill method. That doesn't work, by the way. They learn these skills by doing projects. So they produce a newspaper, they produce a magazine, they correct each other's work, they are very proud of what they do, and as a result, they ask me, well, can I take that grammar book home this weekend? So these kids, they learn everything. that you're trying to teach them in that sort of deadening way. The project, all this sort of standardized teaching curriculum that teaches to the test, it turns kids off. And so you don't want to do that. The idea is, okay, so I can pretty much figure out, they need punctuation, capitalization, they need all these different skills in order to pass the test, right? That's what's on those tests. So if you are stressing that through project-based learning, they're going to learn it better than they're ever going to learn it if they're just memorizing stuff that doesn't matter to them. So, it's a shame that they're getting rid of these programs because these programs actually teach the skills.
So part of the way out of this mess may be boycotting those tests?
Tenure should be eliminated. Tenure is the problem. All conversations. It's not anti-teacher. I love teachers, and 90% of the teachers are great, and every one of us knows the 10% in every building that really shouldn't be there. They're nodding heads. Everyone knows. There's
You know them without having this evaluation stuff?
There's 50 million kids in schools in the United States every day. If 10% of the teachers are bad, that's 5 million kids. From an employee point of view, you might say it's 10%. If you're looking through the eyes of kids, you don't think that.
Right, but
We also need quality administrators, because I would say more than 10% of administrators would have no idea how to evaluate a teacher. And when you're talking about teacher effectiveness, it goes back to what do you want the schools to accomplish?
Yeah. So we have a 180-day contract. We have 350 employees. Everybody has a 1-year contract. It's 4 pages long. And every teacher meets 180 mornings in a year, an hour before the kids come. I think the focus on watching each other's teach is good up to a point. But if the teachers are working with each other collegially 180 mornings a year, then they get to do a lot of that time. The problem with watching each other teach is you need someone else to fill in for them. However, the San Diego Unified just had, the teachers union and the school district just signed a contract which limits professional development. I don't know what you guys got, 1 hour per month. So for teachers to say, well, we don't have a chance to do this stuff, you say, well, you contracted in such a way that you don't even give the capacity in.
So this,
for
you're blaming the
institution to
union?
do it.
You're blaming the union for this?
No, I'm just, it's actually Julian Betts, I think, says it best in educational economics at UCSD. The best way from an economic point of view to understand it is that districts and unions they function as a co-monopoly, okay? And they really do. So they're unified 98% of the time, except when they're opposed to each other most of the time, 98% of the time, except when they're threatened from without, and then they act to protect the interests of the co-monopoly.
Which, by the way, is the argument of Pelosi.
Well, I mean,
that
now
is protecting mediocrity. That there's this complicity.
I still think it's dangerous to say that teachers are the cause of these problems. It's not the case.
I did not say that. I did not say that.
I know, but
nobody
it's
said
easy
that.
to say it's the unions, but I'm a teacher. I was the teacher of the year in my district. I taught leadership in mathematics. Every student I've ever taught would say it was a great experience to be in your class. I mean, I'm that person. Representing my colleagues is all about empowering them to do their jobs. As the president of the San Jose Teachers Association, my #1 goal is to empower them to work in their classroom and educate the students they serve. That's it. Unions become a bad word in this society, but it's just a group of people working together for a common cause.
So teacher unions, you're talking professional, but you behave trade. And so you negotiate, well, we can arrive 2 minutes before, and we can leave 3 minutes after.
I think those are big generalizations, but I think the superintendent would agree that a lot of teachers associations now are working collaboratively with all groups to improve the quality of education. To assume that teachers don't want to work hard, most teachers I know got into public education because they really want to work with kids, and they value the same things you do.
Why is it for decades, we've all known, this is my 34th year, in private schools and in parochial schools, and actually in charter schools like ours, teachers have more control of their work than they do when they operate under a collective bargaining agreement? Why is that?
I think it's part of it goes back to what you said about the charter schools. Those private schools aren't under the auspices of the State Department of Education either. Districts.
Yes, but wait a second. Now I'm asking about you in terms of your own interests. It is, as a professional, I would want to have more control over my work. When I am operating under a collective, I've been a member of the AFT and the NEA. When I was in those units, I had less control of my work. The union restricted my own work.
So I'm going to go back to what I said. I'm younger. I see my role as empowering teachers to do their jobs.
Why
And I
would
think that that's what professional associations do. Well, I don't want to be a roadblock to public education reform, and my school district is an example of, we sit down at the table and we work out a lot of things that we think are progressive. And in fact, CTA has not been happy with everything we've done.
Why
And I
is it-
said before, we're going to say no to bad ideas, not no to any idea.
Why is it in the union, anybody's interest for the union to negotiate, teachers can leave at, 5 minutes after the bell, that sort of thing?
We don't have anything like that in our contract.
You know, I've seen it in contracts.
I don't think I can think of a contract that says when the bell rings, you can leave.
Well, within 10 minutes.
I want to
yeah,
assume
yeah.
responsibility for my own schools, because we do have the contract that I said, and I just want to assure you from my own experience, even in my own schools, it's inevitable, and it happens at universities for those of you who work at universities, right? It's inevitable that there are going to be many moments at which the employee's interests and the student's interests conflict. And it has been my experience being on the faculty of a graduate school of education and working in a charter school and working in a regular district school that inevitably, invariably, the employee's interests prevail. That doesn't mean that they're ugly, horrible people. It just means that the advocacy on behalf of seeing it through kids' eyes is frequently lacking. If I were running the U.S. Department of Education and I had all that stimulus dollars, I would give the stimulus towards those schools which had social class integration of their student bodies. Because as Jefferson said, the purpose of public education isn't to serve the public, it's to create a public. And this country has lost that narrative, and we've drifted into apartheid schooling. And everyone, no one's talking about it. I'm not even just talking about race, I'm talking about socioeconomic. And then the whole basic aid and revenue limit conversation, everything is a different conversation, because the fact of the matter is housing policy is school policy.
So if I had to pick one thing that would change, and we talked about what Larry said, I would actually change tenure. Because I think the reason that we're closing schools is because we can't think of any other way to get rid of bad teachers.
I see there's a lot of students being underserved by our system. So a longer school day and a longer school year, but with 100% local control with what the school district and school does with that time.
I think we need more time in school for our kids. Our teachers need more time. I also think we need to totally restructure how we do school governmentally in terms of, for example, in San Mateo County, there are 23 separate school districts. In this day and age, is that the best way for us to be structuring how we deliver public
And that's-
education?
I would look at assessments and how we evaluate both kids and teachers, and try to make those much richer, much more deeply embedded in curriculum, and much more sort of in the professional development process for teachers, so that they learn from the assessments as well as the state.